Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today we'll be covering the official handbook of the Marvel Universe Deluxe Edition, number 15. Yes, we've reached issue 15 in this amazing series. This will be the last of the conventional white covered issues of the series. And with issue 16, we'll be picking up with the Book of the Dead. And so you'll notice when we get to that issue, there's going to be a different livery, a different color on the cover. And it's kind of a neat transition for that last 5 issues, 16 to 20. This issue covers basically the end of the alphabet. So Wood God to Zax, and then the appendix with all of the alien races. So there's actually not a lot of individual characters that are covered in this issue. We have our double wraparound cover from Keith Pollard, who did the last issue as well. And just to show you real quickly how neatly they marry this up, we have issue 1 here, which I started way back when. And we can see in this awesome meetup how issue 15 and issue 1, the cover literally wraps around to the beginning of our series. So that is a very neat sort of tie-up here from Mark Gruenwald and Keith Pollard pulling it off beautifully, matching his pencils to John Byrne's pencils from the original, from the first issue. And we can see here too, though, that Arabian Night doesn't, Angel matches up, but Arabian Night doesn't quite match up. So there's a bit of a snafu there, but otherwise looks pretty awesome. And Joe Rubenstein is inking both of these covers, so that helps too. So, okay, so let's dive in. Again, as you can see by our contents and artists column here on the front piece, not a lot of individual characters or entries in this one. And then we get to Appendix Alien Races, all by the great Kyle Baker, which is a feast for the eyes. We're going to get to that in a little while. We have a rather long column from Mark Gruenwald on the universal scope of the series, and I'm not going to read much from it. I'm not going to read it all from it, actually. I'm just going to dive into our entries. But before I do that, let me just touch quickly on our creators here for this last of the conventional issues. Mark Gruenwald, writer-producer. Peter Sanderson, writer-researcher. Joseph Rubenstein, inker embellisher. Elliot Brown, technical illustrator. Greg Wright, assistant editor. Mark McLaurin, editorial assistant. James Fry is the art enhancer. Andy Janchus is the colorist, along with a host of other helpful individuals who put this series together in a Herculean effort. We start off with Wonder Man, one of my favorite Marvel characters, probably my top 3. If I had to name my top 3 Avengers, Wonder Man will probably come in at number 3. I would say Beast would be number 2, and Captain America would be number 1 for my Avengers top 3. So Wonder Man's up there pretty high. This is a hideous costume from his West Coast Avengers days, designed, I guess, by Al Milgrom. It's a terrible costume. My least favorite, easily my least favorite Wonder Man costume. Real name, Simon Williams, former industrialist, now stuntman, actor, adventurer. First appearance, Avengers number 9. Origin, Avengers 9. West Coast Avengers, second series, number 2. This is drawn by the great Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, who's stuck illustrating this terrible costume. And Wonder Man gets a nice long entry with some interesting artwork that to go with it, including some George Perez right here, and that's a great one. Ron Wilson piece from The Thing number 5, and this is from the Volume 2 Avengers West Coast run, or West Coast Avengers run. Here's him in the horrible costume here, and more Milgrom artwork. And I think that might be some more Milgrom here. We get a nice drawing of his jetpack, which is pretty cool. Wonder Man is 6'2", 380 pounds, hair gray, dyed black, eyes red. Wonder Man possesses superhuman strength and can lift 95 tons under optimal conditions. Unusual features: Wonder Man's eyes no longer have irises. His entire eyeball is permeated with shifting spots of energy, presumably the ionic energy that gave him his powers. Wonder Man possesses superhuman strength, durability, and stamina. The tissue and bone of his entire body have been augmented in strength and to a certain extent supplanted by an unknown substance during the ionic ray bombardment. So he has a host of other invulnerabilities. Let's see. Because of the energy empowering him, Wonder Man no longer ages. That's one of the other cool things about him, and it plays out in the awesome Guardians of the Galaxy title that would start in the early 90s, done by Jim Valentino, where eventually Wonder Man shows up as the character Hollywood, which is totally awesome. This is in the 30th century, so it's pretty great. He also doesn't need to eat or breathe, so pretty cool. Really powerful character, but also had a number of psychological hang-ups due to the fact that he was dead for so long. So let's move on. Here's Wood God, real name, Wood God. First appearance, Marvel Premiere number 31. Unusual features, Wood God is a humanoid above the waist and resembles a goat complete with hooved feet below the waist. He is 6'3", 265. Wood God possesses superhuman strength, the exact extent of which is unknown. Wood God has displayed sufficient strength to hold his own in battle with the Hulk, but his strength is nowhere near equal to the Hulk's Class 100 strength. I think they had him at 20 tons in the last handbook. So this one they've decided to leave nebulous. Besides superhuman strength, Wood God is immune to David Pace's nerve gas and is perhaps immune to other chemicals that would harm human beings. And yeah, it's a great Sal Buscema panel here, probably from his second or third appearance when he shows up in the Hulk. Wrecker, classic villain. Dirk Garthwaite first appeared in Thor number 148. And we're going to get some pretty dynamite Kirby panels, I'm sure, here, because he gets a 2-pager. And the Wrecker is drawn by Keith Pollard. So that's great. He was a long time Thor artist, Keith Pollard was. So it's cool that he gets the assignment. And this is just such a prototypical Marvel House style drawing. It's just totally awesome. And Keith Pollard, very underrated penciler and artist for Marvel. A couple more great Kirby panels here. We get a side shot of the Wrecker's crowbar. The Wrecker possesses superhuman strength that enables him to lift press about 40 tons. Previously, when sharing his superhuman power with the other 3 members of the Wrecking Crew, the Wrecker could lift press about 10 tons. And he has high resistance to injury related to the magical effects that gave him his powers. We have an entry on the Wundagore, and these are the Knights of Wundagore, created presumably by the High Evolutionary. Those headshots are drawn by Cynthia Martin. Great little map of Wundagore here. Some other cool Wundagore related artwork. I love the armor of the Knights of Wundagore, and in fact, in the Yesterday quest, my second favorite Avenger, the Beast, actually wears this armor to fight Chithon, which is pretty cool. We have some X Factor, an X Factor entry here from with headshots by Walt Simonson. This is after Beast had reverted back to his more human form for a while. And here is them in the guise of the Exterminators, which I always thought was kind of a pretty lame plot device. Here they are as X Factor, the Mutant Solutions team. Again, I wasn't wild about the whole X Factor reason for being and how they operated initially, but eventually they sort of got away from that. Here's a great entry on the X-Men as a team with beautiful headshots from Alan Davis, listing all the X-Men's members in chronological order as they joined the team, which is kind of cool. I love to see the Alan Davis headshots. Oh, I love that Thunderbird. There's an issue in the 90s of the X-Men title that features Alan Davis, I think script and artwork, where I believe Kitty's on a Skrull planet and Thunderbird shows up. He's obviously a Skrull posing as Thunderbird, but man, it's so great to see Alan Davis draw Thunderbird in that issue. And I think he's even on the cover too. It would be just, I don't know if I would read the whole thing on the show, but even paging through it and just looking at the gorgeous artwork would be fun. So yeah, we have every X-Man and when they joined the team. And we also have, obviously, Phoenix, who was Marvel Girl. X-Men 101 is when she became Phoenix, and 137 is when she died, in quotations, because then they retconned that. We have Rogue, 171 is when she joined. And this goes all the way up to Dazzler joining in 215. So, and yeah, that was also funnily enough, an Alan Davis issue. So, and that Magneto is listed as a member here, where he joins in issue 200 when Charles asked him to take over the team in that double-sized issue with Fenris and Romita Jr. artwork. Here is a nice shot. Elliot Brown really earning his money here with the Cerebro cutaway drawing, or technical drawing, I should say. That's the device that increases Charles Xavier's powers. We get their jet, which is always SR-71 Blackbird, that iconic jet that the X-Men had. Nice shot of the X-Mansion here. You get a good idea of the sprawling nature of the mansion and the land around it. Xavier was obviously loaded. The base of operations for both X-Men and its sister team, the New Mutants, is the Xavier Mansion at 1407 Graymalkin Lane in the town of Salem Center in New York State's Westchester County. The mansion belongs to the founder of both teams, Professor Charles Xavier, and has been in his family's possession for 10 generations. So that's one of the, when you ask, well, how did they get the money for all this? Xavier comes from old money. But then a few shows ago, I read, I forget what the source was, that seemed to suggest, it was a Stan Lee soapbox reply that said Xavier earns extra money by going to Vegas and beating the house, which is insane, but I don't know if it's true or not. I think Sam was just kidding. And this gets so detailed, you get the mansion every floor. And I've said it my entire time reading through this series. If you are a tabletop role player and you want to run a Marvel game and you want to have some fights in the X Mansion, you need to get a hold of this issue, because this is going to give you exactly what you need to describe to your players what they're seeing and where they can go. It's very cool. And again, all of these issues, as I've maintained, available in dollar bins. And here we have the unfortunately named Yellow Claw, who I believe they try to change to the Golden Claw, which really doesn't make it much better. Unrevealed first real name. First appearance, Strange Tales 160. We get some cool Steranko art. That's about all I'm going to say about this. We're just going to move on. Yellow Jacket. Rita Damara. Love Yellow Jacket. Great character. Great continuation of the Yellow Jacket character, which I love the outfit. And started out as a villain, but later on she kind of becomes a tweener or even a hero, which is pretty cool. First appearance, Avengers 264. Known superhuman powers, none. Well, she actually does, because I believe she takes the Pym particles so she can change her size. But Yellow Jacket relies on the devices built into her helmet and costume for her superhuman abilities. She has disruptor stings. Yellow Jacket prefers to refrain from using the ability her helmet gives her to shrink in size. Apparently, the size changes are triggered through cybernetic controls in Yellow Jacket's helmet, although Henry Pym as Yellow Jacket did not need artificial means of changing size, but simply did so through force of will. So this is sort of a weird entry in terms of defining whether she has powers or not. They're maintaining she does not. That is actually all Joseph Rubinstein there, which is very nice. It almost has a Mike Mignola look to it. Yimmer, the Ultimate Frost Giant. Walt Simonson, I should have known. Pretty great artwork there on Yimmer. Obviously, he has Class 100 strength. First appearance, Journey into Mystery 97, one of those classic Thor villains. This is a Brent Anderson Zabu, Kazar's saber-toothed tiger companion from the Savage Land. And we have a great entry on Zeus. This is art by Tony Salmons, I believe. Kind of recognize his loose, broad lines there. Really cool. First appearance, Thor Annual #1. And he's 6'7", 560 pounds. Zeus can lift press 90 tons without making use of any other of his other powers. He possesses vast energy wielding powers as well, which is cool. And we get some nice panels with all various artists here, which is nice. This is Johnny Buscema here. This is totally awesome. Big John doing Thor and Zeus in a fight. Okay, this is a very cool entry on some of my favorite lesser Marvel villains, the Zodiac. And we get the original human Zodiac here. And then we get into the life model decoy versions. These are nice Mark Bright figures here. I like the artwork here very much. Gets into their membership record and first appearances. First appearance of the human Zodiac, Avengers 72. The android Zodiac, Defenders number 49. Okay. And yeah, they're visually very fun villains to look at. Love Sagittarius. He shows up in that Defenders story where everyone tries to be a Defender, Defenders for a day, which I'd like to cover on the show at some point. We have a cool Zax drawn by Steve Geiger, who was the Hulk artist around this time. This is post-burn. His short 6-issue run was over, and then we had some Milgram and some other intermediary artists, and Steve Geiger was one of those before I think Todd McFarlane settled in. Zax is an electromagnetic intelligence, a psionically charged electromagnetic field which has a humanoid form and which is capable of crude human-level intelligence and superhuman strength. Zax's superhuman strength has enabled him to battle the Hulk nearly to a standstill. Zax has incinerated whole city blocks in minutes. Yeah, he can burn the Hulk's skin. He's extremely powerful. And at this point in the Hulk series, as we see here, he is possessed by the spirit of General Ross, which is kind of a cool turn of circumstances there. So you have Ross's intelligence, his, at this point, malign intelligence behind the power of Zax, which is a deadly combination. He first appeared in Incredible Hulk 166. So here we have the beginning. The rest of this book is basically the appendix of alien races, done by Kyle Baker. All this figure work is by Kyle Baker, presumably inked by Joe Rubenstein. So it's going to be A to V. I'll pause briefly to talk about alien races that are notable to me. The Canti are those giant star whales from X-Men, first appeared in X-Men 156. But I really remember them being brilliantly drawn by Paul Smith in the Brood Saga, which was in the 160s of the X-Men run, Uncanny X-Men run. Very cool. Let's see, the Bob-Annie first appeared in Avengers 219. The Bob-Annie were engaged in a planet-wide war, which was briefly halted by the Earth telepath Moondragon's psionic powers. She ruled the planet for a brief period. I remember that two-part story. Centaurians, obviously this is Yondu's race from the Guardians, the original Guardians of the Galaxy. The Badoon, who are the Guardian of the Galaxy's greatest foes in the 30th century. First appearance, Silver Surfer number 2. First appearance of the Centaurians, Marvel Superheroes 18. Oh yeah, these guys were the little brewmasters from Hercules, the Seagramites, which is funny, I get it, Seagram 7. Hercules, Volume 1, number 4, they appeared in. The Kryllites, this guy was Sikorsky from the Starjammers, and obviously here are the Brood. One of those first appearance, X-Men 155. Those Marvel X-Men villains, very cool, the Brood. Going on through, of course, the Dire Wraiths, great ROM villains, first appearance ROM number 1. They were pretty scary villains as a kid reading ROM. They were no joke. They were a much darker version of the Skrulls. Yeah, and again, we've talked about it here in a couple of episodes past, but ROM is getting reprinted finally in his own omnibus. Don't like the omnibus format, but for those who do, enjoy. I would hope it would show up as an epic at some point. I might be tempted to buy that. Aragons, some great artwork here. Phonabi, this is Terminus. First appearance, Fantastic Four, number 269. So Terminus was the species, was of the Phonabi species. He's that almost Galactus-like villain who has actually turned out to be one of these dudes in a giant suit of armor. Oh, the Glicks, the GLX, the Glicks. They're from Incredible Hulk 182. When so that's after the first appearance of Wolverine in 181. Hulk leaves Canada and ends up in the wilderness, and this alien, though the Hulk never meets him, meets a couple of convicts on the run and gives them the powers that they possess as hammer and anvil. So he actually eats bullets or other metal. It makes him stronger, which is crazy. Great design work and artistry here from Kyle Baker. Really love this Herms, this little stubby little alien here. Very cool. The Judans, Strange Tales 180. This guy was the judge in the Adam Warlock cycle when Warlock was sent down into the depths of the Imperial Palace to be judged. And that was with the Thousand Clowns storyline, I believe. Very trippy and whacked out stuff there. But yeah, visually very interesting characters. Corbinites, that is Beta Ray Bill. The Cronins, very cool if you like the Thor movies. Taika Waititi's character was a Cronin. These guys, the Katikin, that's a very cool. The Chimelians, they were related to Power Pack. The Landlax, they were Tyros the Terrible's species, his planet. First appearance, Fantastic Four 211. The Laxadaisians, some of these names are very on the nose. That's Pip the Troll's race. The Mephitzoids, that's Hepzibah. She was also a member of the Starjammers, and they first appeared in X-Men 107. Pretty cool. Yeah. The Procyonites, these guys, this character, I remember him being a foe of the Guardians of the Galaxy. His first appearance was Thor Annual number 6. That's some great, I think, either Sal or John Buscema art in it. Papuians, that's the Impossible Man. They first appeared way back in Fantastic Four number 11. They're supreme shapeshifters. Look at the visuals on this. It's pretty great. The Ramalki. First appearance, Warlock 15. Okay, I can get it now. It's from that trippy Starlin Warlock run. The Saurids. That's Chaud's race. Superhumanly strong amphibians. The Sidri Hunters. First appearance, X-Men 154. They're more alien foes of the X-Men. They were usually bounty hunters. Yeah, cool looking. Technarchy, that's Warlock and his father, the Magus from New Mutants. First appearance, New Mutants number 18. Tribunals, I imagine this is the race of the Living Tribunal. Some nice, again, really nice Kyle Baker artwork here. We're to the X's, we're almost done. Zenlavians, that is the race of the Silver Surfer, obviously. Estimated population 500. It's pretty sparsely populated, his homeland. Obviously, Silver Surfer #1 was the first appearance of that planet. The Xenox, X-Men villains, X-Men 65 was their first appearance. And the Zundamites is the last one. First appearance, Fantastic Four 270. So that's definitely a Byrne creation. You can see in the Kyle Baker's artwork there, the John Byrne lines, which is nice. And we'll read more. Appendix, Other Dimensions. What if worlds? Type, alternate Earths. Environment, Earth-like. Usual means of access, presumably through vibrational attunement. Dominant life form, human. Prominent inhabitants, various doppelgangers of Marvel Earth denizens. Comments. Various alternate Earths where events diverged at critical points in history have been glimpsed. So far, about 50 of these such Earths have been observed, although theoretically they are limitless in number. It is behind, I think they mean beyond. It is beyond the scope of this appendix to list them all. The only world that has been visited by denizens of the mainstream Earth is an alternate Earth where Reed Richards became the Thing. First appearance, What If #1. So pretty cool. And this is an editor's note here. The very last thing in this issue 15 is that they're going to be reprinting these issues on Baxter paper in trade paperbacks. And this was early on in the whole graphic novel game for Marvel, but those are extremely hard to come by now, those Baxter edition trade paperbacks. And unfortunately, the glue bindings on them fails with pretty alarming regularity after this amount of time. If you do come across one, you're going to find that glue binding is very likely going to fail on you. They're expensive. I wouldn't pay a lot for them because you're not going to be able to really enjoy them, because when you read them, they're going to fall apart. So that, again, has been issue 15 of the official handbook of the Marvel Universe Deluxe Edition. We will continue on in our read-through, 16 through 20. And then I've decided that I'm going to acquire and read through the whole Update 89, which I think spans 6 or 8 issues. We'll see where we go from there. But I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.